Thanks, Imogen. Okay, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to June's webinar, focusing on rechecks and permissions. So, as always, a little bit of housekeeping. Today's session has been recorded and will be shared with all registrants later this week. So if you'd like to share the recording with a colleague who is unable to attend, or if you'd like to revisit what we covered today, you can. A copy of the slides and the Q&A will also be sent out next week. The audio for the session is available through your computer speakers or by dialing in over the phone. And if you experience poor sound quality at any time, you may wish to try dialing into the session by phone instead. This can be done by accessing your device settings at the top of the screen within the Teams session. If you click on the three dots for more settings, you select device settings, and a settings area will open on the right-hand side. Participants will remain muted throughout the chat. However, there is a chat area which you can access by the top of your screen within Teams, and we'll be taking questions at the end. So please submit any questions or comments you may have at any point. We'll have an open Q&A at the end. I should have cycled through that as I was saying that. So presenting today are myself, Imogen, Sarah, and Micah. As you know, Monica and I are the product support advisors who I'm sure you will talk to on a fairly regular basis. Imogen is our senior product manager, and Sarah is joining us today. She's the development manager for higher education. So today's agenda will be, we'll have the definition of rechecks with Sarah, and then we'll have the to-dos for rechecks as an HEI, which will include a demonstration of using HEI reports for checking ISBNs, for reviewing publishers and other titles which need to be reviewed against the excluded list on the CLO website. We will then do a demo, and Imogen will provide an update on DCS 2.0. So over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Stephen, and good morning, everybody. So I've been asked to put a little bit of context around what rechecks are and why they are needed, which I am very happy to do. So you all probably know that there are certain works that are excluded from the license. So they're called, in the license, they're called excluded works. And anything that's an excluded work is not then covered by the license. So it's not defined as licensed material. We ask universities to check at least once a year for new exclusions. And if you're using the DCS, then this is all automated, which is what this webinar is mainly about. So if you do have extracts from any of these works which are flagged, they're no longer covered for copying. And why might something become excluded? Sorry, I'm getting lots of pings here. Why might something become excluded? It could be for a number of reasons. It might be a change of publisher. It could be withdrawn by the author for their personal moral reasons. It could be a new withdrawal from an opted-in CCC US work. So there's quite a myriad number of reasons why something might become excluded. What we do say is that you can continue to use that excluded work if it's being used for a particular course of study until that cohort has finished their studies, which we would anticipate will be around this time. If you've got issues around resits, then we could cover that a bit later on if anybody has got questions about students that are retaking in August or September. So just a couple of things to bear in mind is that most, as you know, most print material, books, journals, magazines published in the UK and from our international mandate publishers, most of them are covered, but there are some exclusions. And then there's many digital publications as well. And we always have check permissions, of course, which you can check at any time. I think that's probably all I need to say about excluded works, but I'm very happy I'm going to stay on the call. So if there are any questions that come up, I will be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Sarah. It will be my turn to present on the to-dos now for rechecks. So rechecks and the to-do list as an HEI and as a DCS user is as follows. So what do we need to do as an HEI? You do not need to do anything prior to rechecking to prepare for this process. However, once we have run the recheck of permissions on your institution's content, you may need to reassess content that has been excluded from the license and either clear through alternative permissions or delete it from the DCS. All material listed in the DCS as covered by the CLA license is checked, so that also includes second extract permissions, and anything that remains covered by the license this year will remain unchanged. Anything not covered by the license or not found in check permissions or that was manually overridden too close to rechecks will deactivate and the links will be inaccessible. So one of the first things to check is the CLA license excluded list on your DCS dashboard. If content has become excluded from the license, the link will break in the DCS and the content will go back to a pending license status. And these will be flagged to you on the dashboard in the license section as CLA license excluded items. Do keep an eye on this section during the first week of August to catch any content items that become unavailable due to being out of license at this time. And if you so believe that a title shouldn't be excluded, please email permissions@cla.co.uk. You will also need to review license status unknown titles under the link on the dashboard. And these titles include titles with a not found status that haven't been overridden, titles that were overridden too near to rechecks which need to be overridden again, titles with no ISN. You will need to check the website list under view details to check these manually to ensure they are still covered. And most importantly, any questions for not found and excluded titles should be sent to permissions@cla.co.uk. So all items should be added to the DCS with an ISN, an ISBN for a book or an ISN for a journal, as we all know, were available, but some items either do not have an ISN or were published before the mainstream introduction of ISNs in the late 60s. And each year, on and around August the 1st, these titles will need to be rechecked to ensure they are still covered by the license. Previously, all links to content were broken and all non-ISN checking happened through the DCS dashboard. But for efficiency and to streamline processes whilst not affecting student access to content, these links are no longer broken, giving yourselves as HEIs a chance to ensure that you can review these titles using an HEI report. And rechecking items with no ISN should ideally be complete before the 1st of September. And I will be demonstrating shortly how to use HEI reports to generate a list of titles which need to be reviewed if they have no ISNs, which is particularly useful if you have 10 or more on the list. So I will do so now. Great, can we see this screen?
Yeah, all good.
Great, thank you.
Lots of them.
So to check ISBNs which need to be reassessed or assessed, you can start by generating your HEI report, which might look a little something like this one, which is a demo one that I've made just for the purposes of this webinar. From here, you can click on the ISN tab and filter to view blanks only, and these will return the ISBNs to be reviewed. So in order to do this, you can click on the top left corner here, which highlights all the info that you need. click to filter and scroll to ISN, which is this one here. Deselect, select all, scroll down and look for blanks and click OK. And this will bring up all of the ISNs which have no, sorry, all the titles which have no ISN. From here, you can copy this data by clicking on that top left corner again, clicking copy and pasting it onto this worksheet here. So now that you have all of that information, you have the choice on how to organize it, depending on whether you have a lot of ISNs or just a few. So this example says that we have over 10 titles with no ISN. So using a pivot table is most efficient, as you can focus on publishers instead of individual requests as you sift through these. So when in this tab, I do recommend renaming the sheet No ISN, just to differentiate it from the other spreadsheet. Now you can review these publishers against the excluded work list. In order to do this, we click on this top right-hand corner again, click Insert and Insert Pivot Table, click OK, and we are taken to this pivot table sheet. From here, in the fields, you scroll down to Publishers, which should be here somewhere. There we go. And drag it down to the rows value field, and then also the values field. Make sure that it is count of publisher, which it is, and it brings up a table of all the titles and all the publishers that need to be checked with no ISBN. So for example, we can have a look at this one here, for example. And from here, you can double check if this publisher is excluded in the excluded works list. There will be a link to this on the knowledge base article for rechecks, or you can go directly to the CLA website to find it and see if any are now excluded. And if any publishers are excluded, or if there are blank results, or you just need more information, like I said, it is a really good way to sift through the publishers one by one and see all the requests in one tab together. So for example, you can click on another one and it will bring up another sheet with the list of titles under that publisher. So this is the most efficient way to organize and check your ISBNs or the non-ISBNs. And that is that. From here, I will be speaking about the methods for fewer ISBNs. Let me just get the presentation. So if your HEI report shows fewer than 10 titles with no ISN, it's probably easier to go through them one by one in the DCS. But this is assuming that permissions were correctly identified when the request was first assessed. You only need to check that the publisher doesn't appear on the excluded work list, as I mentioned before, as you might have done with the HEI report. But to change the request details, you can search for the request ID on the DCS dashboard as shown here, and you can delete the request or click on the request to enter it. When in the request, you are able to update by cancelling the override or override the request as excluded, and this is up to you. If you're using the HEI report, items which are known as cancelled items will be listed as not found, and excluded items will be marked as excluded. And this is if you're using the HEI report. However, if the publisher has not become excluded, you do not need to do anything else until next year. And here are some important questions which have come up in the past, but please feel free to save any others for the end of the webinar, at the FAQs, or send us an email if it's a more complex question. But some commonly asked questions are, can students still access content during rechecks? And the answer to that is yes. Students retain access unless content becomes excluded. And if that happens, the link breaks and the content must be re-cleared. Another question is, if I've overridden content as covered by the CLA license after verifying it was included, will it be flagged again during recheck? And the answer to that is usually not. We run a report throughout the year to identify items that the DCS check permissions check has flagged as not found or excluded. And our operations team then work through these and update the check permissions tool accordingly. However, if you override items in July, they may not be processed in time and could be flagged again. To avoid this, please email permissions@cla.co.uk. And I will reference this in our post-webinar Q&A template as well for your reference. And just an important reminder that selecting covered by CLA license doesn't regenerate the link. You must scroll down on the DCS content page and select generate link again to complete the process. And that is all you have to do as an Imogen for our DCS 2.0 updates. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Monica. So let me move it forward. Clickety click. There we go. So DCS 2.0. The first thing I wanted to talk about was timing, because last time I mentioned that we had more left to build for the point in the project than we'd expected or than we'd hoped. And we were looking at, really, could we be confident in an August release date? The conclusion is no, releasing in August would be too risky, and we can't put the core service at risk. So we've decided that we will postpone the release. So I had long conversations with the 5 HEIs who were working with closely our build partners, looking at timing. So when would be the next time we could release? When is too late? Things like that. The key things that they told me, or you told me, were that we just absolutely cannot make a release during that peak time for you in September and October. So this is when you, I mean, I'm telling you, but this is when you as library staff, I understand, are at peak importance, and there's just, yes, exactly. So there's no way that we could release during September and October. So don't worry, we won't be doing that. At the other end, if we're going to move this academic year, then it's really important that we have that migration complete, or it would be great to have the migration complete before that second peak that comes along in the new year. So my understanding is that for a lot of people, semester 2 will start in January, so having it complete and settled by then is the goal. And then finally, Christmas holidays. We thought, oh, let's do it over Christmas, but actually people start taking Christmas holidays quite early, and we need to make sure that you've had at least a couple of weeks after migration just to get used to the platform, do any testing that you want to do as HEIs, and trying not to send it sort of too tight up to Christmas, basically. So we're therefore looking at a release in Q4 this year, probably around November. I don't want to give you an exact date because we're still working through the exact timing. But generally speaking, the timeline will look something like this. When we looked at an August release, we were talking about doing rechecks early. Actually, we won't be doing that. We'll be, oh, my clicking isn't working. We'll be doing the rechecks as normal on the 1st of August, or from the 1st of August during that week. Then through autumn, you'll just carry on as normal. DCS version 1, everything will work as it does now. Fine. I'll continue to update you with progress in our webinars. And then we'll be looking at later on, probably mid to late November, we'll do what we talked about for August. So we'll have a migration point freeze, at which point we say, well, actually, we can't make any more activity in the DCS while we move your data over, do the checking, and then give you access later on then. I think we will still end up with a couple of releases. We'll still probably have rollover SEPs, a couple of things that we're not going to need immediately or that we don't actually have yet as a second release. But it's the same principle as we talked about for August, just coming a little bit later. And then obviously we'll continue to iterate and build on the platform from there. So that's what we're looking at now in terms of timing. As I say, we're still working through the exact timing for the work for the remaining plan, and hopefully I'll have more detail next time, but it's not August. That's the key point for today. In terms of the build, last time we met, we had, it's not clicking through again, I keep changing screens. Last time we met, we were at, oh, why is it not doing what I want it to do? There we go. We had built the all of these bits. So we'd started the content request journey. We had a kind of core content for books and articles. We were able to select and view born digital content. We'd done the kind of basic plumbing for the LMS, the library management system integrations, and we were starting to build the DCS API. Since then, we've now also got crowdsourced content that we can access, and we can view the LMS coming through into the DCS now, that integration. At the moment, it's not a live one. We've kind of created a baseline dummy LMS, but that's working and we can see it coming through and feeding results in, which is great. The API, all of the endpoints are now built. So yeah, definitely progress. These are the new things since last time. We've also been doing designs for the update, so bulk course update, which of course everyone's very familiar with, having just done rollover, and bulk content update. That's actually more about onboarding new people, and we've got designs for EHES. I think we'll have to refine those a little bit, but we're well on our way to having the designs for the EHES. Good. As ever, we do have, let me just get that link in the chat as well. We do have an FAQ site, which I am monitoring. We didn't have an awful lot of questions on it last time, so I haven't actually got any more FAQs to add. We've got a version ready to load. We'll update it with the, now that we've got a new date, we'll update the FAQs as they stand at the moment for new dates, and then get that onto the knowledge base. But if you'd like to ask any additional questions, obviously there's here, this is a forum, or we have this question log there where you're welcome to ask questions, and we'll get to them when we can. I have a couple of questions I wanted to ask you. We're looking at e-readers at the moment, and just as a quick reminder, in the current system we have two versions of the Cortex e-reader. Oh, it's not clicking the right things. We've got the anonymous reader and the advanced reader. So the anonymous reader is the kind of default version, the Cortex reader that opens. Doesn't need a separate sign-in, so if students are authenticated to access content, they can access this. You can choose to have it turned on or off. They can read the content, they can search text. So if it's OCR, then they'll be able to do search within the text. They can zoom in and out. They can make prints or downloads. But it is a sort of one-way system. So it's the reader text coming to you. There's also the optional advanced reader. But for this, students do need an account because it's kind of two-way. It remembers them and it remembers what they do with the text. So with this one, they can additionally make notes and highlights and bookmark text. They can share notes with other people who have an Advanced Cortex Reader account. There's a read aloud there, and they can save it to their own bookshelf. So the two versions are the kind of anonymous, system doesn't know who you are, but it knows that you have permission to read. And there's the advanced, where an individual has an account. My question for you is, what proportion of your students are using the advanced reader? Now, because I love a bit of language silliness, is it all? In other words, you have an agreement with Cortex so that absolutely all students have a Cortex account. Is it many or bounteous numbers, because I needed to be? So some of your students will have a Cortex core textbook, and they will, and otherwise students are left to sign up themselves. Or is it actually you don't know particularly, or can't say because it's a C? So you kind of leave it up to students, you tell them, or maybe you don't, that it's there, but it's completely up to them whether they sign up or not. Or actually, do you have it switched off entirely in the system? Because I know some universities do, and then it goes to whatever the default PDF reader in a student system is. And actually, maybe you don't know. So I don't know what it is for my HEI. Now, you can, I did make a poll. So if I'm lucky, I'll get this to work. More polls. Students have an advanced reader account. Oh, there's some chat. Let's have a quick look. Ah, there we go. I can see it happening now. It's in the chat. Excellent. Yeah, actually, so a little bit of all. So some people have HEI wide. Most people, though, just leave it up to students, or actually aren't very sure at all. So that's very helpful. Thank you. Do you have in your HEI? So the Cortex Reader through the DCS, or possibly through Cortex platforms. Do you have other systems that you use? Again, if I'm very lucky, I'll manage to give you the poll. Aha, this one. Now, launch. Hopefully this will work and then come up as a nice word cloud. So do you have other ones? And again, if you don't know, that's absolutely fine. Not a problem. Okay. So some of the ones I was just sort of put a few random ones on the screen. I'm not sure what they are. So Overdrive, Libby, lots of Libby, bit of Talus, Overdrive. Yep. Vital Source. None. Okay, interesting. Clara Read. Oh, I haven't heard of that one. That's interesting. Adobe, sure. Yep. Vital Source, 2 words. That's, yeah. Eds. I don't know that one either. That's interesting. Dolphin, I have heard of. Yep. Yep. Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, I won't close it. I'll leave it there. And if you haven't managed to, none should be an option. Sure, just write none. Yeah, it's an open text field. You don't have to choose from these. This is just free text. Great. So that is really all I have to update you on at the moment. I'm going to move this. I think I've moved the screen on to Q&A, and this can be on any topic, DCS, rechecks, anything else. We are open for questions. Adobe Digital is the work list for the answer. Thank you for clarifying that. I didn't think I'd heard of EDS. I thought it was an unusual thing. Thank you. Editions, presume. Yeah, okay, brilliant. So any questions for Sarah and the team on rechecks, or any burning questions on the new platform? We are here. I'm very happy to answer. Yeah, that's a very good question. When we do release the new platform, will there be a period of time when students can't access links? The intention is no. What we will make sure that the links are either exactly the same or auto forward, and while we will have a brief freeze in the activity that you could do in the DCS platform, the links will continue. I can't say there'll be none, but it will be because we do actually have to switch the one system to the other, but it'll be similar to any release that we would do on the current platform. So I think it's usually, you know, there might be up to half an hour. Yeah, it'll be minimal, and the same as any other release. Next question, how long does the permissions recheck take? Will we be able to view the results on the 1st of August or wait a couple of days? Yeah, good question. So basically we click a button and that does the rechecks for everything, but it can be quite a long queue. Now, my understanding is that the processes that we currently have should do it really fast, but I think it's probably safer to wait a couple of days. And I think it's when is the 1st of August? I think that's Tuesday next week, is it? I think we will send you a message once it's been completed fully for everyone. But I think it's safer to assume that, yeah, wait a couple of days. We run it on the 1st just to make sure that we've captured accurate information for the academic year. Will DCS 2.0 provide a better integration with Leganto? Good question. Immediately, no, because we're building. So first of all, let me just talk about the integrations and how they work. With the reading list management systems, we build the endpoints, and then our third parties build their systems around it. And so we are building exactly the same endpoints. The idea is that at release, it'll just work in exactly the same way. We will be adding a new endpoint called the RLMS ID, which will send through your reading list ID as well. And that is what is going to improve the integration, and it will do, but it will take time for both sides to kind of slowly build the infrastructure for that to work. Part one is us getting the endpoint there so that we can feed through that RLMS ID. The first improvement you'll see, and as I say, it may not be initially because it relies on Ex Libris doing some work as well and trying to coordinate the build schedules of both sides is it's not easy. So we're just kind of taking it step by step. First, we create the endpoint. Next, they provide the mechanism to feed it through. Then we build, what happens with it. So the first thing that you'll see in the actual system will be that ID appearing in lists. So so that, for example, if you've got academic requests coming through, you'll see which reading list they're on as well. So at least you'll be able to kind of mentally match up which ones are from the same reading list. And then the aspiration is a little bit later, and that won't be part of this wave because we're going to need to get another set of work done for it to be fully functional. But the aspiration is then that we'll be able to build a kind of automated flow to deal with requests on a reading list and to kind of action all of the requests for each course simultaneously, which will provide a better integration. So yes, but that was a long-winded answer, meaning yes, but it will take time to improve as fully as we want it to. Beth, then how vital is it? We're done with rechecks by 1st September. Got a lot to check. I'm going to defer to Sarah for that one, please.
Thank you. Can I just check, Imogen? So we, how long does it take? At what point do those links break in the DCS?
Well, so they actually don't.
Right,
So
okay.
the specific question is about items with no ISBNs, which I think the question is. And actually, no ISBNs, the links don't break, but we do ask you to try and check them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we would prefer it if you did it by the 1st of September. If you are having issues with that, we can probably help you, myself and my colleague Margaret. If you need any help with particular ones, we can probably have a look at that and try and hurry them up for you. After the 1st of September, we're on slightly dodgy ground, so I would say 1st of September, if you possibly can, if it's a couple of days, fine, okay. But yeah, if you're struggling, then let me or Margaret know via the education customers email or the permissions email, and we will do our best to help you.
Thanks, Sarah and Beth, and I can imagine that at Oxford you've got a fairly long list.
Sorry for misunderstanding the questions. I should have been paying attention.
No, not at all. Thank you. Right, next question. I'm guessing we'll get a demo of the new integration. Yeah, that's the intention. But as I say, the first phase will be exactly the same endpoints doing exactly the same things. So yeah, but when we build it out, then we will come. What I would like to do is have someone from Leganto come along as well, and we can do both together. And obviously the same would be that with any enhancements that we make for other systems, so Talus, whatever. So when we do a significant improvement with an integration partner, then hopefully we can bring them and do a demo with them as well. Will we need to switch off the digitization request option in Leganto during the freeze period to prevent academics submitting new requests? That is also a very good question. Now, we've been having discussions with Leganto about exactly how that will work. We believe not. We believe that what will happen is they will just stay queued and it will continue to try to fire it across. And as soon as we unfreeze it, then those requests will come in. So you'll just see them as failed, but it will keep trying to resubmit until we unfreeze and they can be posted. That's where we are at the moment with discussions with the Ex Libris team. And actually Talus as well, but we will obviously be testing these, testing. So we will have an actual answer as opposed to we believe once we get that to that point in the build. As I said from the build so far, we have now built the endpoints for the API. But we haven't yet built any of the reading list integrate. We haven't actually got anything flowing through yet. We've just built the endpoints. So we will test it and we will be very clear once we get to that point. Where an existing DCS extract does not, so this is a rechecks one again, Sarah, we might need you. Where an existing DCS extract does not have an ISN, and is compliant with the license, how do we add an ISN to the request? So if it doesn't, I mean, if there literally is no ISN, that's fine, you can't. So if it's compliant, then you're not going to be adding an ISN, you'll just leave it, it's fine. As long as you have checked that it is not excluded, then you can just let it be. That's what the overrides are for, because it will, if it doesn't have an ISN, we'll not be able to check permissions, and it will come back as not found, I believe. And then you have to apply an override and just confirm that it's within the CLA license. Does that make sense? If not, I can try and find a site and show you. Yes, it does. Good. Okay. Super. I think we've got to the end of the questions in the chat for the time being. So if you have any more, please get typing. Otherwise, you can always follow up by email, and we'll, if time, then we'll add them to the Q&A that we send around after the webinar. And we can also just answer you by email if it's after that. We're always around. Going once, going twice. Oh. Okay, thank you very much. Beth, in which recording? Oh, we will. They ought to go to everybody who had. Thank you. So the recording and the Q&A should be sent around to everybody who had registered for the webinar. So if it didn't get to you, make sure that you're definitely checking the email that you signed up with, and maybe checking junk just in case the recording means that it's. But we don't send an actual recording, we send a link to the recording, so it's not going to have been too large. Yeah, maybe check junk, because sometimes if it goes to multiple people at once, I think we tend to put the names in BCC, then systems can end them in junk. But we do use the list of the registrants, so it ought to go to everybody who had registered, even if you weren't able to turn up in person and listen. Okay, so it seems like we might have had an error in the email subject. I have to say I didn't spot that when it came round, so thank you for explaining that one. Thank you. Good. All right, I think we'll, unless there's any other questions, wrap up on that. So thank you very, very much. We will see you at the end of July, which will be just before the rechecks themselves. And if there's anything that you'd like to hear about for next month's webinar, do let us know, and we'll try to include that. Okay, super. Thank you very much. Thank you to Monica and to Sarah for presenting, and thank you all for coming. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.